Tax doctor. So let me ask you, John Sullivan, attorney, what is a solution to this? I think Meleika called it sometimes corruption.
That is corruption. People going in. People are going in for the appeal system, and now it's online as opposed to they're saying people knocking on doors and helping you out. If it's going through a system and people are able to doctor the numbers in the system, that's corruption. They need to be in handcuffs.
Yeah. What do you say, Attorney Sullivan?
Well, I'll say, first of all, I mean, we should tell all of your listeners, and this is a great show, that they can appeal their taxes at cookcountyborderreview.com. One of the big problems is that you only get 30 days. There's a 30-day window for your township every year. And if you don't appeal within those 30 days, then you lose out on appealing for the year. So that's one of the hardest parts. Keeping track of that, and when the appeal dates are open, is really hard for folks. And that's why you see lawyers making so much money in this, right? If you could appeal all year long, you wouldn't have to focus on those 30 days, right? But it is an easy process on the website if you go to cookcountyborderreview.com. As far as the corruption side of it will go, I did work at the Border Review for about 3 years. I was the chief of staff, and I could tell you, like any other government agency, Meleika and Shawn, the vast majority of people there are hardworking. They're overwhelmed because all of the staff cuts historically from it that have been going on with the budgeting process in Cook County and the state. So it's a tough job, and they get hundreds of thousands of appeals every year. In any government agency too, well, I mean, in a lot of them, we should say there's always 1 or 2%, right, that are just the bad apples. And every few years, you see the FBI show up at the Border Review, and there's a couple arrests made for people giving property taxes to folks that don't deserve them. So I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen. It does. It absolutely happens. You've seen bribery cases there. You've seen folks getting paid to lower property taxes, under the counter. But again, the vast majority, and I want to be very clear about this because there's some really good people that work at the Border Review, and there's really good people that work in the assessor's office. But at the end of the day, the system is just set up wrong. I mean, the system, we are so reliant on the property tax here, as opposed to pretty much every other state. I think the doctor was talking about Florida before. Pretty much any other state you can pick, any other county you can pick, and Cook County property taxes have just been out of control. It's been systemic. It's the way it's set up for lawyers and the wealthy, really, to make money off of a system, and that's why it's so hard to change it. But really, we need to stop relying on it. We need to shift it to the progressive income tax and relieve people's property taxes.
Let's talk about assessing properties. What is the job of an assessor and the Board of Review? Phil, Attorney Sullivan, tax doctor.
I'd like to hear Attorney Sullivan's point of view on that, actually.
Sure. So the role of the assessor, once every 3 years, every property in Cook County is assessed. There's about 1.8 million parcels in Cook County. And so it's the assessor's job, basically, and he runs most of it, especially for homes, through computer models that tell him the average price per square foot of a house. And then they take into account several other factors, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms are they supposed to. And then the computer model generates what the assessment should be for that area during the reassessment once every 3 years. You then have an opportunity to appeal that assessment once you get your notification from the assessor's office. If you don't like the assessor's version, you can then go to the Board of Review. The Board of Review is made up by 3 elected commissioners in Cook County. They each have their own district. And they basically hear everybody who wants to appeal to them, and it takes a 2 out of 3 votes to get a property tax reduction from the Board of Review.
So you have to, the Board of Review property taxpayers have to ask for this body, this government body, to review their taxes. It's not done automatically.
No, it's not done automatically.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's not done automatically, and you got to fill out paperwork. It's a process. And if you're going to do it on your own, you have to go and check out properties that's in the same code that you're in and show where your code is out of whack with the codes that they got out there, because they may be undertaxing other folks who may be in the same code your property is in, and you got to do all this homework and turn this stuff in. Now, even if you do all that stuff, there is no guarantee you're going to get a decrease in your property tax.
Yeah. So, Phil, in your opinion, does the Board of Review support?
Yeah, I think, what we found in our study is that wealthy and highly educated homeowners appeal at much higher rates than those on the other end. So, for example, in River Forest in 2020, 45% of homes that sold appealed to the county assessor, and then really about maybe 25 to 30% appealed further to the Board of Review. In the village of Bellwood, only 8% of all homes that sold in 2020 appealed. So you're talking, and then, about 4% went further to the Board of Review. So we're talking about basically a service that is solely going to the benefit, certainly primarily to commercial property owners, but also to, since we're kind of focusing on residential property here, certainly to the highest valued and thus the wealthiest homeowners. It's leaving huge swaths of people behind.
Well, basically, I'd like to ask the question. At some point, the light goes on, and you either clearly see what's in the dark, or when the light goes off, you're uninformed and you're ignorant. So the bottom line to all of this that we're talking about right here is, for decade after decade, it has been clearly known of the lawlessness that is going on. And what's worse is this is where you become uninformed, ignorant, and dangerous. Because no matter what color you are, an old adage goes, you might be on this big yacht that has all of these oars for rolling, but guess what? You're still in the same boat. And so while we're wasting our time with supposedly this uncontrolled violence, that we can put 500,000 men and women in the middle of the desert and wage mechanized war, we can't stop a few knuckleheads running around in the community terrorizing everything. And why? Because it's convenient. So at some point, I should have just started out by saying, when the light goes on and it goes off, why don't you understand? Skip you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Tommy.
Ooh, Tommy.
Whew.
Thank you.
We could do
Some
war
great
against
call-ins
right.
today.
That's great.
My question is, we know all this information. We know that people are being duped and treated just inhumane. Why doesn't it change? Like, what is it?
That's a good. I'm going to tell you what I think. Okay. I think, one, we have this social class, and we all think that we're better than people think they're better than the next. But there's this group called the 1%, or even the less, maybe less than 1%, that's controlling it all. Regardless to what color you are, I think we got to come together against that group to take over. I think they're holding us all back.